Welcome to Highway Resident. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Berlin, a city that's both a traveler's dream and a history buff's paradise.
Yeah, I think what always fascinates me about Berlin is that it's a city that really wears its history on its sleeve. You can see it and feel it everywhere you go, from the cobblestone streets to the grand architecture.
For sure. And we've got some awesome sources to guide us on this journey, including a really cool book on Berlin's infrastructure and even a transcript of a walking tour. So we're going to be getting right down into the nitty-gritty of the city.
It sounds like we are well equipped for this deep dive.
Absolutely. So let's start by rewinding the clock way back to the late 12th century when Berlin was just two small settlements on the Spree River, Cologne and Berlin.
Right? Humble beginnings for what would eventually become a global metropolis.
It's amazing to think about how much a city can transform over time. And speaking of transformations, our sources highlight how expanding water infrastructure played a huge role in uniting Berlin and the surrounding settlements in 1920 to form what they called Great Berlin.
It's interesting because it really shows how infrastructure can shape a city's destiny. The book, Remaking Berlin, dives into this concept, exploring how infrastructure represents not just physical connections, but also political and social shifts.
It's like the city's veins, literally connecting its different parts.
Hmm.
But this path to unification was not always smooth. The 30 Years' War, for example, left a devastating impact on the city.
Oh, yeah. Entire neighborhoods were just reduced to rubble. But even in the face of such destruction, Berlin showed this incredible resilience, rebuilding and adapting over and over again.
Definitely a recurring theme we see throughout the city's history. And of course, we can't forget the scars of World War II, which are still visible today.
Absolutely. They serve as this constant reminder of the city's turbulent past.
And speaking of scars, it's impossible to ignore the impact of the Berlin Wall, which divided the city for almost 3 decades.
Right. The wall wasn't just this physical barrier, it was a symbol of ideological conflict. It divided families, friends, it even divided lovers, which is just hard to grasp the emotional toll it must have taken.
Yeah, it really is. Our sources describe the wall as this intricate system with guard towers, barbed wire fences, and even a death strip meant to deter people trying to escape from east to west.
It's just a chilling reminder of the human cost of division.
It really is.
Yeah.
But there were those who dared to challenge this division, to risk everything for freedom.
Absolutely. The stories of escape attempts, they're both heartbreaking and incredibly inspiring. People use such ingenious methods. Hot air balloons, tunnels, dug beneath the wall.
They're so determined to break free. And then in 1989, out of the blue, there's this announcement that travel restrictions are being eased.
It was this completely unexpected bureaucratic blunder during a press conference that led to this huge wave of people demanding to cross the border.
It's amazing how one little miscommunication can change the course of history.
Yeah. It's a testament to the power of the human spirit and that yearning for freedom. The images of people chipping away at the wall, dancing on top of it.
They're just unforgettable.
They are. It was like the entire city exhaling after decades of holding its breath.
Right. And so a new chapter begins for Berlin, one of reunification and rebuilding.
Yeah. But the scars of the past, they remain not as wounds, but as reminders of Berlin's resilience and that unwavering pursuit of unity.
And that makes me think about the Brandenburg Gate, which has stood as this symbol of the city through so much change. What's the story behind this iconic landmark?
Well, the Brandenburg Gate, it was commissioned in the late 18th century by King Frederick William II. It was designed to symbolize peace and unity, inspired by the entrance to the Acropolis in Athens.
It's interesting how those classical themes found their way into Berlin's architecture.
It is. But of course, no discussion of the Brandenburg Gate is complete without mentioning Napoleon.
Oh yeah, what happened there?
Well, Napoleon, never one to shy away from a grand gesture, he marched into Berlin and took the quadriga, that chariot on top of the gate, as a trophy and took it back to Paris.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a huge symbolic blow. But thankfully, the quadriga was returned to Berlin after Napoleon's defeat. And from there, the Brandenburg Gate continued to witness all of these key historical moments, from the rise of the Nazi regime to the division of the city during the Cold War.
And finally, it becomes a symbol of reunification once again.
Exactly. The Brandenburg Gate really embodies the essence of Berlin, a city that has endured hardship, embraced change, and ultimately emerged stronger than ever before.
It's a reminder that even those seemingly permanent structures can take on new meanings as history unfolds.
Absolutely. It shows us that history is not just a collection of dates and events, it's a living narrative that shapes who we are today.
So we've journeyed through centuries, from those humble beginnings to the fall of the Berlin Wall. What would you say is the biggest takeaway from this period of Berlin's history?
I would say it's the constant interplay of destruction and resilience. I mean, Berlin has faced so many challenges, from wars to political upheavals, but it always finds a way to rebuild, to reinvent itself. It's a city that refuses to be defined by its past.
And that spirit of reinvention, we see it reflected in the modern city as well,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Berlin today is this vibrant cultural hub, a magnet for artists and musicians and entrepreneurs from all over the world. It embraces its past, but it's not afraid to experiment and push boundaries.
That sounds like the perfect segue into our exploration of modern-day Berlin. What awaits a modern traveler on those streets today? So we're ready to explore modern-day Berlin and all it has to offer. What kind of experience awaits a traveler who sets foot on those streets today?
Well, going through these sources, it really struck me that Berlin manages to be both this global city and also have these really intimate neighborhoods. You can find world-class museums and bustling shopping streets, but then you turn a corner and you stumble upon a hidden courtyard or a cozy little cafe tucked away on a quiet side street.
It's like that perfect mix of the old and the new, right? You get those layers of history, but also the energy of a modern city. And speaking of the old, our sources rave about Museum Island. It seems like it's an absolute must-see for any visitor.
Oh, absolutely. Museum Island is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's home to 5 amazing museums. Each one is just packed with art and artifacts spanning centuries.
It's got the Pergamon, the News Museum, the Alts Museum. It's almost overwhelming. If you had to recommend just one to our listeners, which would it be and why?
That is a tough one, but I think I'd have to go with the Pergamon. It houses these monumental reconstructions like the Ishtar Gate of Babylon and the Pergamon altar. I mean, just imagine walking through a gate that was once part of the ancient city of Babylon.
That's incredible. Our walking tour transcript mentioned the Ishtar Gate too.
Mm.
The guide described these vibrant blue glazed bricks and all these intricate details of mythical creatures. It's mind-blowing how these structures have survived for so long.
It really is. And the Pergamon altar is equally impressive. It's this massive frieze depicting the battle between the gods and the giants. It's just a masterpiece of Hellenistic art.
It sounds like these aren't just artifacts, they're like portals to another time and place.
Exactly.
Okay, so the Pergamon is definitely going on the itinerary. But what about something a bit more modern? Our sources mention Berlin as a UNESCO City of Design. What makes Berlin's design scene so unique?
Well, Berlin's design aesthetic is this really interesting blend of historical grandeur and cutting-edge modernity. You can find these stunning examples of Baroque architecture right next to sleek, contemporary buildings.
Like the Sony Center, for example,
Yeah,
with that futuristic canopy.
exactly. It's like a spaceship landed in the middle of the city.
It's a great example of how Berlin embraces innovation while still respecting its architectural heritage.
It is. And if you want to experience that blend firsthand, take a stroll down Unter den Linden.
Ah, Unter den Linden, the grand boulevard of Berlin. Our sources say it's lined with all these iconic landmarks.
It is. As you walk along Unter den Linden, you'll pass the Brandenburg Gate, of course, but also the State Opera House, Humboldt University, and all these embassies and historical palaces. It's really a walk through history.
It sounds amazing to be surrounded by centuries of history, art, and architecture. It's no wonder Berlin is such a popular destination for travelers.
And we haven't even scratched the surface of the cultural offerings. Berlin really comes alive at night. World-renowned symphony orchestras, underground techno clubs, there's something for everyone.
Our sources mention the Down Under Berlin, which is the Australian Film Festival, as an example of the city's diverse cultural scene. It's not something you'd necessarily expect to find in Berlin.
No, but it shows that the city is open to different perspectives and artistic expressions. And beyond the big-name festivals and events, there's a thriving underground art scene with tons of galleries, performance spaces, and music venues showcasing local and international talent.
It sounds like Berlin is a place where you can discover something new around every corner, whether it's a hidden courtyard or a cutting-edge art installation or just a really cool cafe with a unique vibe.
That's what makes exploring Berlin so exciting. It constantly surprises you and challenges your perceptions.
But it's not all high culture and avant-garde art, right?
Mhm.
I mean, our sources mention that Berlin has a surprisingly laid-back side, too.
You're right. Even though it's a bustling metropolis, Berlin has this relaxed, almost bohemian atmosphere. People value work-life balance, and there's this big emphasis on enjoying the simple pleasures of life. You'll find lots of green spaces, beer gardens, cafes where you can just unwind and soak up the city's unique energy.
That's a nice contrast to the image of a city that's always go, go, go.
Yeah,
It seems like there's a real appreciation for slowing down and savoring the moment in Berlin.
definitely. And that appreciation extends to the food, too. Berlin's culinary scene is incredibly diverse. You have Michelin-starred restaurants, casual street food stalls, and of course you can't forget the iconic currywurst.
Currywurst, the classic Berlin dish. It's amazing how something as simple as sausage with curry-flavored ketchup and fries became such a symbol of the city. Our sources mentioned it was invented in Berlin back in 1949.
It's really a testament to the city's ingenuity and its ability to embrace the unexpected.
Absolutely. And speaking of embracing the unexpected, let's talk about Berlin's commitment to accessibility and inclusivity.
Okay.
I was really struck by how much our sources emphasized this aspect of Berlin. It's not something you always see highlighted in travel guides. It seems like Berlin has made a conscious effort to be a welcoming and inclusive city for everyone.
Right. The Visit Berlin website, for instance, specifically mentions accessible hotels and transportation options and tours. They even highlight museums and attractions that are designed to be accessible to people with disabilities.
That's great. And our walking tour transcript mentioned that the Holocaust Memorial is designed to be level with the ground, so it's seamlessly integrated into the city fabric, which makes this really important site accessible to everyone.
Yeah, and it's a reminder that accessibility isn't just about physical accommodations. It's about creating an environment where everyone feels welcome and included, regardless of their abilities. And it seems like Berlin has really embraced this idea.
It's inspiring to see a city taking these issues seriously.
It is, and this commitment to inclusivity goes beyond accessibility, too. Berlin's known for its open-mindedness and tolerance, embracing diversity in all its forms.
It makes sense, considering the city's history of division and the fight for freedom and unity.
Exactly. Having experienced the consequences of intolerance and division, Berlin has consciously fostered a society that celebrates differences rather than fearing them. And this is reflected in the city's thriving LGBTQ+ community, its multicultural neighborhoods, and its wide range of artistic expressions.
Our sources mention a club called Schwud, which is a queer club that's been a fixture of Berlin's nightlife for decades.
Yeah, that's a great example. It speaks to the city's long-standing embrace of LGBTQ+ culture and to its commitment to creating spaces where everyone feels welcome and accepted.
So we've covered a lot, from Museum Island to Currywurst, from accessibility to inclusive nightlife. It's clear that Berlin offers something for everyone. But what about the vibe? What's it actually like to be in Berlin?
If I had to capture the essence of Berlin in one word, I think I'd say electric. There's just this palpable energy there, a buzz that comes from being a city that's constantly in motion, always reinventing itself.
I can almost feel it just listening to you describe it. Our sources painted this picture of a city that's dynamic and fast-paced, but they also talked about this sense of laid-back coolness, this willingness to embrace the unconventional.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of Berlin. It embraces contradictions. It's intense and relaxed, edgy and welcoming, all at the same time. You can find world-class museums and Michelin-starred restaurants, but also underground clubs and amazing street art.
It's like the city itself embodies that spirit of reinvention and adaptation that we were talking about earlier.
It does. And that spirit is reflected in the people, too. Berliners are known for being straightforward, independent, and creative. They don't shy away from challenging the status quo.
Yeah. The Visit Berlin podcast described Berliners as having this dry sense of humor, which I kind of love. It suggests this self-awareness, they don't take themselves too seriously.
Right. There's this wit and irony that you find throughout the city. It makes for a very down-to-earth atmosphere.
And speaking of down to earth, I was interested in the discussion about Berlin's environmental initiatives. It seems like the city is really trying to balance its growth with a commitment to sustainability.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Berlin has made some major strides in this area. Our sources highlighted everything from the huge network of bike paths to the focus on green spaces within the city.
Even Remaking Berlin talked about how the city's infrastructure reflects this focus on sustainability with initiatives to improve energy efficiency and promote renewable energy sources.
It's great to see a city that's grown as quickly as Berlin taking environmental concerns seriously.
It shows that progress and sustainability can go hand in hand.
They can.
It seems like Berlin is always trying to improve, to evolve, to create a better future for its residents.
I think that's a great observation. Berlin is always looking ahead, Always searching for new solutions, new ways of being.
So we've covered the accessibility, the inclusivity, the vibe, the environmental initiatives. It's clear that Berlin is a city that defies easy categorization.
It really does. Berlin is a city of contrasts and contradictions, and that's what makes it so fascinating and captivating.
It sounds like we've only just begun to scratch the surface. We haven't even talked about the nightlife, the street art, all the hidden gems in its different neighborhoods.
Those are definitely topics for another deep dive. But before we move on, there's one more fascinating thing about Berlin that we need to explore.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. So we're back and ready to uncover this last piece of the Berlin puzzle. You mentioned something about Berlin's relationship with its past being unique. What did you mean?
Well, it's really interesting. Berlin doesn't try to hide its difficult history. Instead, it confronts it head on, and it uses art, architecture, public spaces to remember and reflect.
The Holocaust Memorial is a powerful example of that, right in the heart of the city.
Yeah, exactly. It's a stark reminder of the atrocities of World War II. But it's not just about memorials. The city is full of these more subtle reminders of its past, too. Our walking tour guide pointed out how many of Berlin's public spaces are actually designed to encourage reflection and dialogue about history. I mean, even something as simple as a cobblestone street can tell a story.
It's like the city itself is inviting you to engage with its history.
Right, and Berlin understands that acknowledging the mistakes of the past is essential for building a better future.
It's a city that owns its complexities, right?
It does. Its contradictions, imperfections, the whole thing.
You know, that makes me think about this concept of Vergangenheitsbewältigung, which I came across in our research. It's a German word that roughly translates to coming to terms with the past. It seems like Berlin has really embraced this idea.
It has. Berlin has woven this idea of grappling with the past into the fabric of the city. It's not about erasing history, it's about acknowledging it, learning from it, and using it as a foundation for growth.
It's such a powerful lesson, especially today when we're dealing with so many challenging issues.
Absolutely. Berlin shows us that facing our past, both individually and collectively, is crucial for moving forward.
Well, it's been an amazing journey exploring Berlin with you. We've learned so much.
We have, from its turbulent history to its vibrant present.
Its architecture, its culture, its commitment to accessibility and inclusivity, its vibe, and how it's turned scars into something beautiful.
It's been quite a deep dive.
What stands out to you as the most important thing we've learned about Berlin?
For me, it's that spirit of resilience, that ability to bounce back from adversity and come back stronger.
I agree. Berlin is a city that refuses to be defined by its past and chooses to embrace change, learn from its mistakes, and forge a new path forward.
Berlin shows us that cities are like people, you know? They're constantly evolving.
They really are. To all our listeners out there, we hope you've enjoyed this journey through Berlin. We've only scratched the surface, but hopefully we've sparked your curiosity.
Berlin is a city that will challenge you, inspire you, and stay with you long after you've left.
Thanks for joining us on Highway Resident. And until next time, happy travels.